2022. So I haven't done many videos on predictions for quite some time, and I've been a bit quiet in certain areas, and I see a lot of other psychics that do work in this field, that work in sort of visualizing into the future. They've also been very, very quiet. And I don't know, it's like our guides have just pulled back, not giving us the information. We're meant to be quiet. I'm also seeing a lot of people through the readings that I'm doing going through the amount of marriage breakups I've seen in readings this year, the amount of people that have contacted me to say that they're lost and they have no idea what they're doing is incredible. Like, it's on a scale that I haven't experienced in all these years of doing this kind of work. And I feel like, besides from the predictions and worrying about what's happening around the world, people are going internally and sorting out themselves. And this is where I was speaking a few years ago, where we are becoming more conscious of who we are and reconnecting the higher self to the ego self. Not just living by the ego and living a fake existence, like really understanding ourselves. And when your higher self rises up and is trying to get you to notice, that's when this tower moment happens, when everything starts falling down around you, and it's like your outside world that you have known it to be collapses, and you're forced to go within. And that is happening so much. And I remember, I think it was in 2020 when I was making a video, I could see that happening with lots and lots of people, but it's going to be in stages. It doesn't happen to everybody all at once. It happens in stages. And I can see it. I see it in the work that I do. It's on a daily basis. It's especially marriages, like long-term marriages that are breaking up. And people are devastated by it. People are changed, like incredibly changing people. They're just not the same person that they were 5 to 10 years ago. So I think that may be why a lot of psychics we're just sort of standing back and letting people go through the journey that they have to go through, which is unique to them. But I did, excuse me, I did go through some of the things I'd written down last year, just to see, curiosity to see if they had come true yet. So the first one that I'd talked about was the farmer's hardship. This is especially in Australia, because I think because I live in Australia, most of what I'm visualising is within Australia, unless I specifically mention another place. But I saw a lot of floods, and I thought it was a locust plague, that I could see some kind of plague with these little things, but I've since discovered there is a really bad problem with mosquito plagues, which is because of the floods, I presume, with all that water that's everywhere. This is causing farmers' hardship, which is causing the shortage of foods. I don't know what parts of Australia are affected with different foods. I just know I live in a rural area in South Australia, and there's a lot of shortages in the supermarkets. Chicken shortages, like potato shortage. We had a while there where we couldn't get avocados. A lot of fresh produce that's had shortages, and meat shortages, and some of the frozen foods, even there's shortages there. So yes, and I remember I think it was in 2020 in the predictions, I saw so much rain on the east coast, especially on the east coast of Australia. And those poor guys have just been hammered, absolutely hammered with floods. And we are expecting it to come down into the South Australian region of Berry and Mannum. And then where I actually live is where the Murray River comes out into the ocean, down into Lake Alexandrina. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens down in that area as well. to see how that rises up. Number 2, I'd talked about high tides and land erosion, and I had a vision of a house just hanging over a cliff and all the water had been washed away. I did see a picture in the news during the year of that very thing. I can't find it at the moment because I don't have the time, but yeah, that was happening. Third one was about St. Patrick's Day. I don't believe that anything major happened on St. Patrick's Day in 2022, so quite possibly I was wrong with that one, or it's still coming, because as you know, I'm not that great with my timing. The prediction 4 was more people setting up vegetable gardens and fruit trees, beehives, understanding food and resources. I don't know. I can't personally say that lots of people are doing that, but from my experience just around here, my own family and people that I know definitely have been setting up their own vegetable gardens more and looking into making sure they have their own food sources. So yeah, I don't know, you may have noticed that a lot more. Number 5 was about a new incinerator. It's like a groundbreaking. I felt like, I don't think this has happened yet. I know there are incinerators out there that you can put in your own backyard to like compost your own rubbish, but this felt like really, really different, where it doesn't emit anything out of it. And I feel like everyone's going to have these back in their backyards where we can just take rubbish out of the house and put it in this incinerator, and we don't have to put it into landfills. And I kind of feel like that's still coming. I don't feel like we're quite there yet with those inventions. Number 6 was about, I should have got my glasses. More mine, lots of new mines, an increase in gold, and gold being used in a medical way. This quite possibly is mining, as in crypto mining, or mining as in land mining. I haven't looked up on the news to see if there are a lot more mines being opened up or new jobs starting up in mines. You may have more information on that. I do know that there was some information about gold being injected for arthritis, so that was gold being used in a medical way. And I haven't even looked up to see if gold has increased, so I kind of feel like it has. I think I did hear a while ago that gold had increased in its value, so I know some people like that when they see my predictions, they will send me links with information, which is great, because I honestly don't have the time to sit there and go through and research a lot of these, and I rely on people to give me the information for me. People who are in power, I had seen there was a mass exodus, a lot of resigning and removal of people in power. And I know in England, they had 3 prime ministers in a 2-month period. So, and in Australia we changed leaderships. I think in a lot of other different places around the world there was a lot of sort of outing of different authority figures. I have also noticed on the news that the people that were in positions of power resigned. I mean, they've got them, unless they know something's coming, they've sort of got themselves out of the way first before their own jobs are going to be on the line, or they're going to have to be made accountable for themselves. So I have seen evidence of that. Number 8 was around the shift in consciousness, waiting to change within themselves. That's what I talked about at the beginning of this video. Definitely have seen a lot of people changing within themselves. They changed their belief system and they're not viewing things the same way that they used to view things. Number 9 was, I kept seeing a Trojan horse, which is kind of like questioning everything and sort of making fun of authority in some way, just not even seeing authority as anything powerful anymore. Still unfolding, I think. A lot of people that still want to believe in authority and believe that we're, whoever's in charge is doing the right thing by people, wanting to have that trust and then so many other people that have absolutely no trust. So it's kind of like a bit of a half-half on that one. Number 10 was about research with pigs. I did see that the CDC had confirmed that the first human in 2022 was infected with the flu from a pig. And we also had foot and mouth disease with the cattle that happened in 2022. Number 11 was around more viruses unrelated to COVID, and I saw a rash or a skin irritation, which was kind of looked like measles. And in 2024, another virus outbreak. I'm not sure if people were infected in some countries with a rash type skin irritation. I can't say that I noticed anything here in Australia around that, so maybe that's something that's still coming. I also, number 12 was around a lineup of 13 people, mainly men, well known. They were behind the scenes kind of men, like CEOs of companies. I don't think anything like that has actually come forward yet. I can't say that I've seen 13 people lined up that are in some kind of authoritative power. I don't know. I think that one's still coming. Some of the weather predictions, I'd seen a cyclone in Broome in Western Australia. That did not happen as yet in 2022. I had seen a collapse of ice in Belgium. They haven't had a collapse of ice in Belgium, but they have had severe flooding in Belgium, and like devastating floods, a lot of water. I had seen a tornado in Arizona. I believe there's been one just recently, devastating, millions of dollars damage, and it was called Phoenix Metro tornado. I think that happened just recently in November in 2022 in Arizona. I saw Delhi storms and floods. They had massive floods and storms in October 2022. I saw dry weather, unusually dry weather in Wisconsin, and that is the way it's heading. It's actually heading into more and more dry weather in that area. I saw green stones or a green mass, something to do with green minerals in Africa, and in August the experts were unpacking green mineral partners in African mining. So there is a lot of talk about this. I don't even know what green mineral is, but there was a lot of talk about green mineral mining in Africa in August. And I just saw strange weather patterns, and I guess, it's November, and we are 2 days off summer in Australia. It's cold outside. It's been wet. We had like flash flooding in November, and I know so, like weather patterns change. We go through periods of flooding. I mean, I'm 60 years old, and in my lifetime I've seen certain years where we have had so much rain in Australia. One time it flooded so much on a farm that I lived on, our kids got in a rowboat and they were rowing across the top of the paddocks. There was just so much water. But that happened in that whole 10 years that I was in that place. It happened once. So we kind of go in cycles where we do have massive flooding, and then we have drought, and then we go the other way and drought, and then we have bushfires. So it's such a diverse country with our weather patterns. Number 14 was about new accounts. I saw new people setting up new accounts which was not connected to banks. It was something totally different. I have noticed a lot of people when I've been watching social media that are now going into decentralized finance. So they're just getting themselves out of the whole banking system. Still operating, still being able to spend money, but they don't use banks. I believe they go through more like crypto or a digital wallet. I haven't really understood it really well, but I have seen people that live a very fruitful life, and they seem to make more money by getting out of the banking system. So yeah, there is new accounts in this decentralized finance. Number 15 was about, I saw G20 and then I saw G4. I don't know. Don't know what that was about as yet. I know that there is the G4 countries are Brazil, Germany, India, and Japan. So whether something is happening with those 4 countries, whether they're going to lead the way with change, something happens in those 4 countries first, I'm not sure. Sometimes what I'm seeing doesn't make sense right now, and we have to watch things unfold, and then it starts to make sense later on. Number 16 was about high fuel prices. Definitely we have just been having more and more higher fuel prices in 2022. Number 17 was around seeing a lion statue, which I felt like it had snakes on it. And it was, the earth was opening up and there were secrets underneath this lion. Well, in, I don't know how you pronounce it, Emar, Mutt, Jagannath Temple, which is in India, in May 2022, they were digging for something else and they found a lion sculpt, an ancient lion sculpture, which was unearthed in this historic place. And so that's still got news around it because they're trying to get this lion out from underneath the ground to then discover what is under it. But they believe there is something ancient remains, or there is information underneath this lion. So quite possibly what I was picking up around that. Number 18 was around replacing body parts with 3D models. I know they can do small things. There is a few people that have been able to have certain body parts replaced with a 3D model of that part. But as for big organs, replacing livers and hearts and kidneys and veins or anything like that, I think that's still coming. It's still like an investigative stage at the moment, just trying to get things right. Number 19 was, I felt like there was a lot of people going to have just waves of nausea, and then that was purging of our sins, and we were all going through that, all thinking back over what we've done wrong to other people to try to clear this karma in this lifetime so that we do not have to keep carrying it through to each following lifetime. Number 20 was around 2022 to 2025 old systems failing and a lot more brilliant ideas coming to be used. Still unfolding. We are halfway through that period of time, and look how much has happened since 2020 to now. Like, if you look at like 2015 to 2017, not as much in your world changed as what has changed between 2020 and 2022. It's like, and it's everything. It's like the COVID, the pandemic. It was then starting to question authority and being told, not wanting to be told what to do, wanting to make up our own mind, and then starting to realize how we've been programmed to think. And then the data breaches, and I don't know, it's just one thing after another that just keeps happening, and this is part of the old systems having to fall down so the new ones can be built. In number 21, I saw voting systems change. I know there has been talk of voting systems changing, especially in Australia with the passing of the Queen, whether we should become our own country now and just disassociate from England. So that would then change the voting systems. So nothing has happened as yet. Maybe that's something still coming. Number 22 was, I saw some kind of tracking device being trialled where it was tracking people, but I just felt like it was going to fail. I don't know as yet if that was trialled and has failed, or I haven't heard anything. Also, number 23 was around activity in Delhi. I know there's lots of news happening in Delhi, but I don't feel like it's happened yet, what I was picking up. Number 24 was around Uruguay, and also something unnatural happening. This morning I happened to have the telly on and saw that Soccer World Cup is on. And I heard the word Uruguay and I thought, oh, maybe they're going to win the World Cup. And that was the unusual happening. I don't know. I don't know if anything is... I'm just going to put not yet with that one. Number 25 was around food shortages. Yes, definitely seeing them. Number 26 was vaccine awareness, and they haven't done what they intended to do. Well, definitely in 2022, there's a lot more information coming out of the ineffectiveness of vaccines and how they haven't stopped the spread. If anything, they've caused some health issues with people that have had the vaccines. So definitely a lot more awareness around that. Number 27 was asking for forgiveness for those you have hurt to clear your karma. I don't know if you personally have had a year where you have really analysed your own accountability and wanted to, even if you don't forgive people publicly, and give them a text or an email or a phone call and say, look, sorry for what happened. But you may be able to do it internally, just energetically you send someone forgiveness. If someone's hurt you, seeing them more in a forgiveness light doesn't eat things away as much in you. Because when you are holding on to anger, you're the one that gets it eaten away. They still go about their life. So number 28 was around an economic crash, stock market drops, real estate drops, plummeting money and investments, and lost super. Definitely a lot of people have lost money in super, they've lost money with investments, real estate is dropping. And I was talking to a real estate person the other day, and they said the houses that are averaging around the 350,000 to 400,000 were kind of remaining steady, but the higher ones, the 800,000 to $1 million, they were the ones that were just not selling. They're not selling. People are not buying into the high range because they're worrying about the interest rates and whether they can afford the loans. So, and it's up to us. If we don't rush out and buy things, if we get out of that fear of missing out thing, if you don't go out and rush and try to beat the next person and try because you desperately want that house, it forces prices to go down. We are the ones that control a lot of that by the ones that are willing to pay more than something is worth. I mean, for me personally, I find it absolutely ironic that, say, 8 years ago, a house was worth $350,000 and a family moves into it. And today, 8 years later, that house can go for $700,000. And yet it's the same house. Nothing's been done to it. Nothing's been renovated. Nothing's been built onto it. Well, in 8 years, it just doubles in price, and some places are tripling in price, and nothing has been done to it. So if we don't want to pay that, if we just refuse to pay it, how does it sell? It's because we keep pushing. We push the boundaries with loans. Like, I know it's a totally different era, but we were petrified to borrow $200,000. Like, 20 years ago, if you borrowed $200,000, that was like a lot of money. People will sign up loans for millions and not question it. Like, do you want to be paying something off for the rest of your life? For what for? Like, I don't know. I just think if we just stop. I remember before we went into lockdowns with COVID, I was sitting at home here with a group of people, and I said, do you know the way that you can get control over authority in governments is if everyone just stayed home. If everyone just stayed home, no one went to work, no one did anything, it causes a massive panic. Nothing moves. We are in control of that, us as the people. And it was not long after that COVID sort of came about, and then we were in lockdown, and I'm like, wow, we are at home. Look at what happens when we all stay at home and we don't go and spend money. Look at how small businesses go broke because we didn't go and spend money. The cycle stops. And the same thing will happen with real estate. If people just stop spending high amounts of money and letting properties just sit there, it has to bring it down. We do ourselves such an injustice anyway. And the last one was about more houses being built, more social housing, rent to buy, and mortgages privately run, not banks. I see in my area there is definitely a lot of there's companies that are building like 80 places that are smaller, all look basically the same, and they're going to sell between 250,000 and 300,000. So they are on that lower range where people can get a start, like just get in there. So I know that's happening in my area, and I'm in a very small town, South Australian area, so I'm sure there is lots more housing being built. I know in China, they are having so much trouble with their housing situation because people were buying into apartments that haven't been built, like, you know, buying up front, buying off the plan, and 3 years down the track, they're paying a mortgage off for something they don't own. Because of COVID, the construction industry suffered, and now the funding with the government has suffered, and these people are not getting them apartments. They've paid for something they're not getting, so they've stopped paying their mortgages. And they are protesting about that. And they're protesting about a lot of things over in China at the moment. So I think it's still going. You know, we as people, we're going to be standing up and saying enough is enough. You can just push a person so far, and they'll break. That's enough. It's enough. And I think we are definitely at that it's enough stage. So that was just a quick, that wasn't quick, that was quite long, going over of the previous predictions. Someone brought up the other day about, do you remember when I said about Trump and Biden? I remember when that election was happening, I didn't see Trump getting in, and I didn't see Biden getting in. I didn't see anybody for a while. It was like a hung parliament. And then I said Trump wouldn't get in then, but he would come back. And, well, it appears he is coming back. My quick prediction on that one is I don't see him being president again. I think someone else will get in. I can't think of the guy's name. I saw someone on telly the other day who was standing as president as well, and I felt like he was the one that was going to get in, but not Trump. And I don't even know how Mr. Biden is still there, because I really thought his health would have pulled him away from that role by now. I don't know how he's even still in that position with the health that he's in. Anyway, so that was that. If my guides happen to give me an influx of predictions, what I see coming up, I will definitely write them down and share them with you. But at the moment, I'm a bit focused on private readings. I don't know, I get so much more information when it's just one-on-one with a client, rather than trying to visualize stuff that happens worldwide. But anyway, if I do get them, I'll always share them with you. I don't keep them to myself, and I'll be talking to you soon before we get to Christmas. So I hope everyone has a lovely day. Thank you for listening to me.